Welcome to the Nourish to Thrive podcast, faith-forward, science-backed strategies for women who want more energy, less weight, and real answers. I'm your host, Tanya Pennington-Miller, a functional nutritional therapy practitioner and functional blood chemistry specialist with a master's degree in applied clinical nutrition. If you're tired of feeling dismissed by your doctor, confused by your labs, and stuck in survival mode, you're in the right place. Here, we simplify the science. We get to the root, and we anchor it all in truth, because God made your body to heal and thrive, not just survive. It just needs the right kind of support and less noise. Hello, my friend. I'm so glad you're here today. Now, I know a lot of our recent conversations have circled around hormones and fasting and metabolism, but there's one piece that doesn't get nearly enough airtime, and I want to talk about that today. Because sometimes it's not your thyroid, it's not your hormones, it's not even your diet. Sometimes it's your gut. And if you've been dealing with bloating, constipation, random nausea, or just, kind of that heavy, sluggish feeling, no matter how well you're eating, you are going to want to lean in to this episode today. Because gut issues don't always show up as gut symptoms. They can sometimes look like fatigue, stalled weight loss. They can even look like hormone dysfunction. So today I want to walk through the gut health and metabolism connection that most women don't know about. I want to talk about what symptoms that you should pay attention to. And I want to end with 5 practical shifts that you can try this week to support your digestion, okay, and your energy from the inside out. And this doesn't require any testing. So for those of you who feel like you've already tried everything, we're also going to talk about when it might be time to look deeper, okay, including what I use in my practice to test instead of guess. So let's dig in. I want to talk to you about the gut metabolism connection, and I'm going to simplify the science for you on this. You've probably heard the gut be called the second brain, but what doesn't get talked about enough is how much it actually impacts your energy, your hormones, and your ability to lose weight, especially if you're over 35 and just not feeling like yourself lately, because your gut isn't just about digestion. It's about whether or not your body can even use the good food that you are working so hard to eat. And I've always said, it's not about what you eat. It's about how well you digest what you eat. Okay. Now, here's a short list of what your gut is actually responsible for. So first one is nutrient absorption. Okay. B vitamins, iron, magnesium, zinc, these aren't all just nice to have nutrients. They are critical for hormone balance, for thyroid conversion, for energy production and metabolic function. But they don't just magically show up in your cells because you ate well. I know it doesn't sound fair, but they have to be absorbed through your gut lining. And if that gut lining is inflamed, if it's leaky, and we're going to touch on leaky gut, if it's under stress, those nutrients are not going to make it in. So even if your meals are dialed in, and we're talking, we've got grass-fed beef, leafy greens, all the right supplements, you can still feel depleted if your gut is not doing its job. And this is why so many women feel like they're doing everything, quote unquote, doing everything right and still running on empty. Another thing that your gut is responsible for is hormone detoxification. One of the main ways your body clears out used hormones, especially estrogen, is through your gut. So estrogen gets processed through your liver, it gets sent to the digestive tract, and is supposed to be eliminated via your poop. But if you're constipated, ladies, if you're bloated, or your gut bacteria are just out of balance, that estrogen does not leave like it should. Instead, it gets reabsorbed. So now your body is circulating estrogen that it already tried to get rid of, and that's where the problem starts. This is how women end up with estrogen dominant symptoms, even when their actual hormone levels are not sky high. Okay, maybe you got your labs done and your estrogen doesn't appear high. But we see things like mood swings, heavier, painful periods, breast tenderness, headaches, that stubborn lower belly fat that will not budge. These are all signs that your gut might not be clearing estrogen like it should. If you're not pooping daily, or maybe you are going, but it's not this like full evacuation, right? It's not this easy elimination. Then your hormones are not detoxifying properly. And when that happens, estrogen becomes less of a helper and more of a toxin in your body. Okay, another responsibility is immune regulation. So about 70% of your immune system lives in your gut. That means this isn't just about digestion, it's about inflammation, it's about hormone balance, it's about how your body responds to stress. And as we get older, our resilience to stress and inflammation really starts to shift, and not in a favorable way. So we might have years of antibiotic use, consuming processed foods, having hormone fluctuations. All of these things can wear down the gut lining. And when that lining gets compromised, your immune system gets triggered. And that constant immune activation turns on this low-grade inflammation. And that inflammation is not always loud. It can show up as puffiness or swelling. It can show up as belly weight that will not budge. It can show up as brain fog, as aches, stiffness, hormonal dysregulation. Again, even when your labs look normal. Now, chronic inflammation disrupts your hormone signaling. It's going to raise your insulin. It's going to tell your body to store fat instead of burning it. And for women who are over 35, who are already navigating this metabolic and hormonal shifts, this is often the missing piece. So if your symptoms aren't making sense, or you feel like your body is fighting you despite your efforts, your gut could be the reason. Now, let's talk cortisol balance, which is also rooted in your gut. Your gut and your nervous system are so deeply connected. So when your gut is stressed, your body is too. That's because your gut talks directly to your brain through something called the gut-brain axis. And one of the loudest things it says is, "I'm not safe." Okay, when your digestion is off, you've got the bloating, the nausea, the loose stools, or the constipation, your body perceives this as a threat, and it's going to respond in the same way that it would to any other stressor, by ramping up your cortisol levels. Okay, this chronically elevated cortisol is going to slow your metabolism. You're going to see shifts where your body stores more fat. It's going to mess with your sleep. It's going to make it harder to access stored energy, meaning we are tired. We are fatigued. Now, your cortisol might not actually even be technically high. It might just be that your diurnal rhythm is flipped. Maybe your cortisol is just too low in the morning, but it's high at night, which is going to leave you exhausted all day and then wired at bedtime. So if you've been working on your nervous system, you've been doing the breath work, cutting back on caffeine, getting outside for that sunrise light, but you're still feeling anxious or wired, or just kind of like you're stuck in that go mode, it could be that your gut is keeping your stress response activated. Okay, so if you've been eating clean, you've been taking your supplements, you've been cutting the sugar, but you're still feeling bloated, sluggish, puffy, just like your body is not responding, your effort is not the issue. Your gut just might be asking for help, and God designed your body to communicate when something is off. And so what I really want you to hear is that gut dysfunction doesn't always show up as digestive symptoms. Okay, we're going to go through these, but sometimes they look like, energy that crashes out of nowhere. They can look like low mood or irritability that just sneaks in for seemingly no reason. They can look like hormonal shifts that just kind of feel all over the place. Brain fog, where just the even simplest tasks now feel complicated. or just kind of that frustrating blah feeling that you can't quite put your finger on. Like you were not meant to feel this way every day. And if you're thinking, yeah, I've cleaned up my diet, I've tried everything, trust me, I get it. And that's exactly why I start here with so many of my clients. Because more often than not, this is the missing piece. If your gut isn't happy, nothing else will be either. Now, I just mentioned some of the less obvious ways gut dysfunction can show up, but I want to go a layer deeper because in my practice, these are the specific signs I look for when gut issues are disguising themselves as hormone problems. So let's talk constipation. Even just a day or two without a full bowel movement means your estrogen is not getting cleared. Okay, it ends up back in your system. It's going to drive symptoms like PMS, like bloating, like breast tenderness, like mood swings. Okay, and it also slows thyroid conversion. It's just going to make everything feel heavier, literally and emotionally. Next is bloating, even with healthy foods. So if things like garlic, onions, broccoli, if they leave you feeling gassy or swollen, it's not just your body being sensitive to them. It could actually be a sign of dysbiosis or SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, okay, where bacteria are fermenting in the wrong place. So you're not reacting to the food itself. Your gut terrain just needs support. Okay. We also see skin flare-ups. So breakouts around the mouth or the chin. Sometimes you see that redness around the nose or just those stubborn eczema patches that pop up. These often point back to your gut, not your skincare routine. Okay, when your digestion is sluggish or your detox pathways are overwhelmed, toxins that should be leaving through the liver and then through your bowels, okay, through your poop, often push out through the skin instead. It's literally your body's backup plan. Okay, it's not a surface level issue. This is why your dermatologist is not able to help you here. Okay, we also see mood swings and anxiety. Okay, your gut and your brain are constantly communicating through the gut-brain axis. Okay, when your gut is out of balance, you can impact key neurotransmitters like serotonin, okay, happiness, and GABA. GABA helps you to feel like everything's going to be all right in the world. So when we don't have these, we feel more anxious, more irritable, just emotionally off. So if you've been feeling on edge without this, clear reason for it, it might not just be stress. Your gut could be a part of the picture. Okay, we also see waking up at 3 a.m. So if you're consistently waking up around the same time every night, especially, between 2 to 4 a.m., it could be more than just stress or hormones. Okay, it's a common sign that your liver and your gut are under strain. Okay, especially during this overnight detoxification. And if it comes with night sweats, anxious thoughts, a racing mind, it might be time to look deeper at your digestive health, okay? Specifically to look at your liver load. We also see cravings and blood sugar crashes. So if you find yourself reaching for sugar or carbs, when your energy dips, it might not be just a habit. It could be your gut talking. Certain bacteria and yeasts like Candida actually feed on sugar, and they send signals to your brain to keep the cycle going. When those microbes are overgrown, it gets a lot harder to stabilize your energy or just to feel satisfied after meals. So if you've ever felt like your cravings have a mind of their own, this might be why they actually do. Okay, these don't always scream gut problems, but they're often red flags that your digestion is struggling beneath the surface. And if you're checking off 2 or 3 of these on a regular basis, like this is not just your age. Okay, it's not just that your hormones are failing you. It's that your gut is asking for support. And once we address what's going on in your gut, everything else from your energy to your hormones to your stalled weight gets a whole lot easier to shift. So let's talk about some common root causes. The first one being low stomach acid. Now, believe it or not, acid reflux isn't usually from having too much stomach acid. It's actually often from having too little. So when stomach acid is low, which is a condition called hypochlorhydria, food ends up sitting in your stomach for too long. And that delay gives carbs a chance to ferment, proteins a chance to putrefy, fats the option of rancidifying. And all of these things are going to lead to gas. They're going to lead to pressure, to this upward force. Okay, you're going to feel that acid reflux. That pressure can push acid up into your esophagus, which burns. Not because there's too much acid, though. It's because your esophagus isn't designed to handle any acid at all. So even the smallest amount in the wrong place is going to feel crazy intense. Okay. And the bottom line here is without enough stomach acid, you can't properly break down protein. You can't absorb key nutrients like vitamin B12, iron, zinc. Okay, this is all going to lead to fatigue, to brittle nails, to poor thyroid conversion, hair loss. Okay, even if your diet is spot on. Okay, so if you're dealing with reflux, with bloating, that heavy feeling after meals, don't assume you have too much acid. You might actually need to support your body in producing more. Okay, root cause number 2, bacterial overgrowth like SIBO, which I mentioned earlier. So if you're bloated after meals, even when you're eating clean, it could be a sign of bacterial overgrowth in your small intestines. Okay, not just a sensitivity to certain foods. So SIBO happens when bacteria that should live in your lower gut, they actually migrate upward and they start fermenting your food too early in the digestive process. Okay. That fermentation creates gas. It creates pressure. It often creates a visibly distended belly, even after a healthy meal. And if you haven't experienced this, you may have seen somebody, on social media talk about it. It happens to a lot of people. And it's not just uncomfortable. Over time, it can interfere with how your body breaks down nutrients. Okay, it will leave you depleted no matter how well you're eating. Okay, it can slow your motility. It can contribute to constipation or loose stools. And it creates that tired and puffy and inflamed feeling that just really isn't making sense on paper. Okay, so if you feel like your meals are working against you, or you wake up with that flat tummy, but by the end of the day, you have a completely bloated belly, even when your food choices have been, according to plan, you'll want to pay attention to this red flag. Root cause number 3, we touched on this already, candida or yeast overgrowth. So if you're battling sugar cravings that don't make sense, okay, if you're dealing with bloating, you're dealing with brain fog, itchy skin, this can be around the ears a lot of times, or recurring yeast infections, ladies. Okay, candida might be part of the picture here. Candida is a type of yeast that naturally lives in your gut. Okay, and it's supposed to be there, but when things get out of balance, and oftentimes this comes after antibiotics, with the use of hormonal birth control, with steroid use, even just long-term stress, it can start to overgrow. And when it does, it doesn't just stay quiet. It drives inflammation. It disrupts your mood. It messes with your blood sugar. It leaves you feeling puffy and irritable and just unwell. And so what I want you to hear here is that candida makes you crave sugar on a physiological level. Like, this is not about a lack of discipline. This is about biology, because those little microbes need sugar to stay alive. So they quite literally send signals to your brain to get more of it. Okay, they crave it. They make you crave it so that they can survive. And they will keep whispering those cravings until your gut terrain gets back into balance. Okay, root cause number 4, leaky gut. So let's expand here a little bit. When your gut lining becomes inflamed or it becomes compromised, this is what we call intestinal permeability. It stops doing one of its most important jobs, which is to act as a barrier. So instead of keeping toxins and pathogens and undigested food particles safely contained inside your digestive tract, that damaged lining starts to let them leak into your bloodstream. And once they're in, your immune system flags them as invaders. This is where food sensitivities come from. Okay, this triggers a cascade of inflammation that doesn't just stay in your gut. It can show up anywhere in your body. So over time, we see, new or worsening food sensitivities. We see skin flares like eczema or just these unexplained rashes, joint pain, brain fog, or just trouble focusing. We see autoimmune activity. Okay, in women who've never dealt with it before. So if you've been eating clean, you've been avoiding trigger foods, but you're feeling more reactive than ever, this could be what's going on behind the scenes. Okay, it's not just about what's on your plate. It's about how your gut is processing and protecting you from what's on your plate. And when that protective barrier breaks down, your whole body feels this ripple effect. Root cause number 5 is sluggish bile flow. Bile is one of the most overlooked parts of digestion. Okay, and yet it plays a massive role in how your body handles both food and toxins. I want you to think of bile as your body's natural detox and digestion fluid. Okay, it's made in your liver, it's stored in your gallbladder, and it's released when you eat. Okay, especially when you eat fats. It's going to help you to emulsify fats. Okay, it's going to help you to break them down so that you can actually absorb them and so that you can absorb fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K. Okay, but it also acts as like a garbage truck. Okay, it's going to help to bind up toxins and estrogen to help to carry them out through your stool. Okay, but bile only works if it's flowing. But unfortunately, and this happens for a lot of women over 35, it's not, because years of low-fat diets that we were scared into, birth control use, skipping meals, even fasting without the right support can all lead to bile that is thick, that is sludgy, that is stagnant. Okay, hormone shifts in your late 30s and your 40s also naturally slow bile flow. So now instead of clearing things out efficiently, your body starts recycling what it was trying to eliminate. Okay, estrogen, environmental toxins. Okay, this can all lead to experiencing nausea after higher fat meals, having sticky, pale, even kind of grayish in color, hard to wipe stools. Okay, constipation or just sluggish digestion. That kind of toxic and just puffy feeling, plateaued weight loss. If your bile isn't flowing, your detox isn't working. And if your detox isn't working, your hormones will not balance. Your energy will not rebound. Your metabolism will not budge, at least not in the right direction. And this is especially common in women who have feared fat for years or who have a history of gallbladder issues. Okay. Supporting bile flow isn't just about better digestion. It's a key part of supporting your hormones and your metabolism long term. Now, those of you who've had your gallbladder removed, I know you're thinking, what about me? I don't have a gallbladder. Well, your body no longer has a storage system for bile. So now it just kind of trickles out from your liver slowly instead of being released in response to meals. So that means that fat digestion and detox can be even more sluggish, okay, leading to more bloating and nausea, trouble absorbing your fat-soluble vitamins. So if you don't have a gallbladder, you will need to supplement with bile salts for the rest of your life, taken at mealtime. Essentially, you're supplementing your own bile at meal times to be able to break down and absorb your fats and your fat-soluble vitamins. And I know your doctor didn't tell you about this when he took your gallbladder out, but you need ox bile salts at meal times. And I'll link my favorite ox bile supplement in the show notes so that you have a reliable place to start. Okay, so if your gut isn't working well, it's going to show up somewhere. And for most women I work with, metabolism is a key area where it shows up. Fatigue is another. Weight that won't budge. Okay, it's not just about what you're eating. Okay, hear me clearly. It's about what your body can actually process. Now, let's talk testing for a quick minute. One of the main tools I use in my practice is something called the GI map. It's a functional stool test. It goes far beyond what your conventional doctor would be willing to run. It looks at bacteria overgrowth, parasites, yeast, worms, inflammation markers, pancreatic function. It's going to show us how well your gut is clearing out toxins, including estrogen. Okay, this is how we stop guessing. However, I am not saying everyone needs to run labs on day one. In fact, I often encourage my clients to hold off in the beginning because more often than not, we actually don't end up needing them. But if you have already cleaned up your diet, you've built consistent habits, you've followed your supplement protocols, and you still feel like your body isn't cooperating, this is one of the first functional tests that I would consider. Okay, it gives us real answers, not just surface level reassurance. Okay, now, if gut testing feels out of reach or you're just getting started and you don't need that yet, I don't want you to underestimate what small changes can do. So I want to give you 5 gut-loving rhythms that I have almost every client start with. Okay, they're simple, but they're powerful, and they are so often overlooked. Okay, so here's number 1. Chew your food. But like really chew your food, okay? Now, digestion actually starts in your brain. Like just thinking about food begins the process, but it physically starts in your mouth, okay? Chewing signals your stomach to produce the acid that we've been talking about, and it primes your digestive system for what's coming. So if you're barely chewing, your stomach has to work overtime. And if your stomach acid is already low, like it is for many, many people, that is a fast track to bloating, to sluggish digestion, to acid reflux, poor nutrient absorption. So I want you to aim for 20 to 30 chews per bite, even if it feels ridiculous at first. Okay, you'll be amazed at how much lighter your digestion feels just from slowing down and chewing more. And I'm going to warn you, it's not easy. For some reason, it is so hard to chew our food enough times. And when you're not paying attention, you'll probably notice, oh my gosh, I only chewed 2 to 3 times and I swallowed. So it does really take consistent effort in that area. Number 2, try a splash of apple cider vinegar before meals, okay? This gently signals your body to start producing stomach acid and digestive enzymes, okay, so that you can actually break down and absorb what it is you're about to eat. So I often recommend 1 teaspoon of raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar. You want to make sure it is with the mother, okay? Just in a small glass about 10 to 15 minutes before you eat. It's very simple, very effective, okay, to support your digestion, especially if you've dealt with bloating or, heavy, slow to digest feeling in the past. And I know that it can be hard to get down sometimes. For some people, the taste of the apple cider vinegar. And so if that doesn't work for you right now, just skip that one. Okay. But again, it's 1 teaspoon, add it to some water. Number 3, space your meals instead of grazing. Your gut needs breaks between meals to fully clean house. There's a process called the migrating motor complex, and it sweeps through your digestive tract every few hours, but it only kicks in when you're not eating. So this constant snacking just interrupts this rhythm. Okay, and this is when we're going to see the bloating, the bacterial overgrowth. I want you to really try leaving 4 to 5 hours between meals when you can. Okay, number 4, walk after dinner. Just a 10-minute walk. 10-minute walk after your evening meal can do wonders for not just your digestion, but also for blood sugar regulation. You're not doing this to burn off your food. You just want to move gently, let your body process what you gave it. And a bonus here is actually that it supports your circadian rhythm, okay, which is going to help with sleep and stress regulation. Okay, and number 5, I want you to tell your body you're about to eat. Digestion begins in the brain. And so often we're just eating while we're in this fight or flight sympathetic state, right? We eat at our laptops while we're scrolling, while we're watching TV, while we're driving, while we're standing, while we're in work meetings. So simply sitting before our food and praying, thank you, Lord, for this food. Bless my body with it, is this opportunity to tell your brain you're about to eat. You can also take 3 deep breaths. Just 3 times will help you shift into that parasympathetic state so that you can increase your body's ability to digest. Okay? 5 things that you can do. Now, I want to zoom out for a second. If your body is giving you these signals that we're talking about, the fatigue, bloating, inflammation, resistance to weight loss, I want to remind you this, and I talk about this often. It's not malfunctioning, it's communicating. And maybe, just maybe, it's inviting you to pause and to listen. Because your gut isn't just a physical system, it's deeply connected to your emotions, okay, your nervous system, to your faith walk. Stress, fear, pressure, they all land somewhere. And often they land in the gut. Proverbs chapter 17, verse 22 says, "A cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones." That verse is a reminder that healing isn't just about what we eat. It's also about what we carry. God designed your gut with intention, not just to digest food, but to process life. We've all had that gut feeling. So when we care for it with attention, with patience, with grace, we're being faithful stewards of the body He gave us. So if you've been dismissing your symptoms, you've been pushing through the discomfort or even judging yourself for needing the support, this is your reminder. You're not weak for paying attention. You're wise for tuning in. And your healing doesn't just make you feel better. It frees you to show up more fully for the call God has placed on your life. So if you have been feeling bloated, inflamed, exhausted, okay, don't ignore this. You don't need to panic or overhaul. Okay, you're not going to do everything overnight, but you do deserve answers. And it's not about doing more. It's about getting curious. It's about recognizing that even subtle gut dysfunction can impact your hormones, your metabolism, your mood. Okay, and healing is possible when you stop guessing and you start addressing the root. So if I could encourage you to do one thing this week, it's this. Please don't underestimate the simple shifts I gave you. I know they sound so simple, but I promise you, chewing your food, spacing your meals, walking after dinner, telling your brain you're about to eat, these might feel small, but they are foundational. And when they're done consistently, they truly move the needle. If this episode brought some clarity or, helped you feel seen, I would love to hear from you. Come say hi. Come see me on Instagram, tanya.pennington.miller. Send me a message. And share this with a friend who might be in your same shoes. You were never meant to walk this alone. And if no one has told you today, you are doing better than you think. That's it for today on the Nourish to Thrive podcast. If you found value here, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, or send it to someone who's walking a similar path. Keep showing up, keep asking questions, and know that healing is possible, especially when you trust the one who designed your body to heal. Until next time, stay rooted in truth and nourished in grace.